Good morning again. And following the previous video, which I did about this very interesting doctor in philosophy, psychology, which gave this very interesting idea. You know, now we can talk about taxes, which is a very interesting subject I thought about today, and about taxes in the United States. And I think it's a very good continuation because in the previous video we were talking about good decisions. We were talking about how people can be smart enough to take good decisions, and that's one of the most powerful resources you have for wealth creation. My books usually talk about wealth creation. That's one of the things I like to write about, and in my case, is wealth creation on the long side. When markets are doing well, it's the same way that Warren Buffett built his wealth, which wasn't shorting businesses, but acquiring businesses, working them, or just buying them and hold them. Then there's other ways of generating wealth, which is short selling, and making money when things go down. But at the same time, it, even if you long or you short, it's the same process. It's the process of taking decisions and knowing how to think, and that leads to wealth, and wealth leads to taxes sooner or later. It doesn't matter if it's by investing or by working and saving a lot. You know, Sooner or later, death and taxes come. That's a good name for a book. Death and taxes. Perhaps I will use it as a title. So, the subject today is about the tax bill and the tax bill in America, in the United States of America. And one of the things I wanted to mention in this video is that, believe it or not, it could get much worse. Much worse than what it is today. I've seen some economists, a couple of them, which are defending that a 70% tax rate in countries like America, in like the United States of America, isn't only viable but positive for the economy. Imagine what I'm saying, right? And from that I answer that, of course, if instead of pushing the population to be entrepreneurial, to be hardworking, to find their way of serving others, like it happened with the baby boomers here in America, that we have more than 40 million small business owners, which is people that's quite entrepreneurial. They found their way of building a business, sometimes from scratch, and serving others.
And he tariffed the other countries. And we made so much, and then they went to the income tax system later on. But they would actually they had a blue ribbon committee. Our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. And this blue ribbon committee was set up to determine how can we spend all of this money, and they took it in through tariffs. But we can turn our country around, make it strong, and then guard it with tariffs.
Interesting discussion. And I thought when I did that interview that I actually enunciated more clearly than I did that when politicians say they create job, it pisses people like me off, because it does. You've heard me say that on the podcast before. He did agree with that, although you have also seen him and every other politician claim that jobs were up under my administration, as if they did it. But
Well, that's why it drives me up a wall when you hear politicians say, "I created this number of jobs." No, you didn't.
No, you
By
didn't.
what standard? What business did you start that you created
Exactly.
that number of jobs? And if you did create jobs in the public sector, how much money did you have to steal from people in the private sector in order to redirect it to people that you think are now going to vote for you?
You know, if instead of that we just steal money and create jobs with more services and all of that, of course that's going to create more jobs in the economy. If we do that instead of pushing people to be smart and find that without the help of the government. Yeah. But these guys are defending that a 70% tax rate is viable which is insane. And I lost my way a little bit on the video doing promotion of my books and talking about other things, but the first thing I wanted to mention, is imagine if when the government sends you the tax bill, you receive your tax bill and now you have to pay those taxes, right? But in every letter they send you a second letter that when you open says, hello citizen X, we are the government and this is your tax bill. And first thing we want to say is that we feel bad about having to steal from you, and we admit that this right here is theft. And perhaps next year we might increase this tax bill a little bit, but we want to let you know, okay, that we feel bad about this theft, and that we are working hard to become self-sufficient.
And he tariffed the other countries. And we made so much, and then they went to the income tax system later on. But they would actually they had a blue ribbon committee. Our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. And this blue ribbon committee was set up to determine how can we spend all of this money, and they took it in through tariffs. But we can turn our country around, make it strong, and then guard it with tariffs.
To get our next round of taxes from profits we could create, or from cutting spending that's unnecessary, or from raising money from donors that want to give to these plans and projects we have of national interest, but they give it to us willingly instead of by theft and imposition. And imagine if you receive this letter. It's gonna feel a little bit weird, of course, but in that case, I will feel more comfortable because it will be a more decent world where at least the thieves that take your money, they admit that they are stealing from you, and they will try to not to steal from you again. And you might say, "Oh, this sounds crazy." No, my friend. Like you have Scandinavian countries that the government has ownership of oil fields. The same happens here in the US. The government owns so much land and so many productive assets. You have Scandinavian countries that they discover oil, and instead of spending all the money in oil, instead of spending all the money they made with oil in stupid government programs, they save that money, they save it, they created a retirement fund for their people, and they invested that oil money. And I think this Scandinavian country, I don't remember which one was, I think it was Norway, they have a retirement fund that owns almost 1% of all the publicly traded stocks. I don't know if they are already past that. They're owners of the 1% of the world's stocks. But it's because they saved money. They put it on a retirement plan for the country, and then they invested that money. And now instead of stealing from their citizens, they are owners of something as a government, and the government is the people, because what they do with that money, it's decided by democracy, okay? So it's owned by the people from that country. And the beautiful thing is one of the best retirement schemes seen all across the world. I think there's more than $100,000, $200,000 per citizen available to take care of them on their retirement. And it's money that's already invested, so it's money that's gonna grow, okay? So imagine that, right? If the government, instead of stealing from you, they will have a plan to stop stealing from you. And every time they steal from you with taxes, they send you a letter saying sorry for that. And it's crazy that instead of having that, we have a world right now that's discussing if a 70% tax rate is going to be viable in countries like America. And why it's viable in countries like America? Because it's a negotiation with hostages. So it isn't even a negotiation, it's terrorism. Okay? They have a hostage, which is America. I come from a country, okay, where if they increase the tax bill, I don't care, because I'm like, okay, you wanna ruin my country a little bit more? Go ahead and do it, no problem. Give me reasons to never go back there, you know? I chose America after they screw it up to be the country where I want to live, where I want to raise children, probably where I want to make good relationships, where I want to pursue my American dream, right? So if you want to screw up more the country where I was born and raised and got many of my schooling from, okay, go ahead and screw it with higher taxes. You know, it isn't a negotiation with hostages. But the thing is that America, they have a hostage, you know? And it's the same thing with California, for example. California, they have a big hostage there. And many people joke and say, this situation is called, if we put California and Nevada and Las Vegas, they transform paradise into hell and hell into paradise. You have California, which is a paradise in weather, in industry, in entrepreneurship, LA and all of that, Silicon Valley. And they transform paradise and beaches into hell because of the high taxes, because they have a hostage to negotiate, okay? And then Nevada, Las Vegas, which is a very hot place, terrible weather, it's a desert, basically is hell. It becomes paradise, and many people goes and moves there because of the lower taxes and because it's a more Republican state, I guess, right? Instead of being a blue state. So the paradise becomes hell, and the hell becomes paradise because of state taxes, and we're not even talking about federal taxes, right? It's insane. I think right now I'm gonna put a video from I think Reagan or one, no, it wasn't Reagan. It's from my U.S. president, which explains very well how the taxes are actually higher than what we think, but are very well hidden. And that's one thing that the U.S. did very well, which is hiding the taxes.
Governments, federal, state, and local, were only taking about 15 cents out of every dollar earned. Today, they're taking almost half of every dollar earned in the United States. And most people don't realize it because the taxes are hidden in the so-called business taxes. You know, the politician that stands up and yells, oh, let's save the little man, let's tax business, and everybody yells hooray. But they haven't figured out that every tax on business is just a part of the cost of production. And the customer winds up paying it when he buys the product. It's a hidden sales tax. There's 116 of them in the suit of clothes that each one of us is wearing.
Suppose a lot of economists have suggested, and
But going back to what I say, there's many, to what I said, you know, there's many economists that are talking right now of the possibility of making taxes go up to 70%. So having America looking more like these Scandinavian countries where the taxes are above 50%, which is bonkers, right? And it's insane. It's truly insane. And I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about it, but it's a situation, and if we could talk about how this could get more sick, I was just thinking this morning. Imagine if they put a 70% tax rate on you, but only under the condition that you reach $50 billion in net worth, for example. So, in other words, means that if you reach $50 billion in net worth, you know, when people is trying to get richer, they're trading. So I trade my time, my work, my skills, so you can give me money and I can get richer. So we are trading. I give you something from my side, and the world becomes a better place. You give me more wealth, right? So imagine that if you reach $50 billion, is perhaps because you have given a lot of value to the world. But now, because you reach that point, it's like the trade is bad because you have traded staying in your country and raising your children in America and having a house in America and being able to live there 2 years in a row if you want without moving out, having a home, staying in the country you love, having relationships with your community. All of that, you traded away. You traded away because you got in exchange $50 billion or more, and now because you have that wealth, you have to pay 70% tax rate in anything you do. You know, it's insane. It's like people doesn't want to be a billionaire anymore because that means you will have to move out. You know, so now you're not only trading your skills and your talent, you're also trading your own home. And you're giving it away to a bunch of poor people, you know, and thieves that want your money. And that they didn't find their way to make income, so now they have a partnership with a leftist government that is going to steal for them. And yeah, and I say this without being a billionaire yet, despite I could be in the future or not. But it's like they live in a partnership with the state, and the state steals from them, and there's no shame. You know, there's no shame. It's like people is stealing and has no shame of it. So that's why I told you at the beginning of the video. Imagine if with the tax bill, it comes a letter saying, okay, we are sorry for stealing from you. We are sorry for this high tax bill. In the future, we might try to find a way to make this lower. Which in other words means we are making an effort so you don't go out of here. Because then that tax bill is going to become so high that it becomes an incentive and a good decision to move away. And that's a very, very sad point. That's a very, very sad turning point. Okay? And yeah, what could we say? What could we say? Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention, you know, sadly I left the best, give you the best at the end of it. You know, the thing with high taxes, okay, is that wealthy families, in the same way people that's struggling, okay, and need the help from the government, and is making these partnerships with the government that steal money, you know, and don't send letters saying sorry, you know, for the excuse of giving jobs to them and giving help to them, you know.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The president promised help is on the way, and today, help has arrived.
Oh, shut up.
The same way the guys that are struggling, they do. So the wealthy also have their own struggle. One of those struggles is called the three generation curse, where in 3 generations wealth goes away from families. They become more passive people that only can have jobs or don't even want to work because they have so much savings. So they go into the same situation that many people that struggling suffers. And what I'm saying is that taxes, what they do, is that they steal from wealthy families the chance of diversifying. Okay, if you tax a family that was going to spend all that money in stupid stuff, okay, that's one thing. But the thing is that sometimes if the family at the end of the year, or the individuals, the wealthy individuals, we're going to save a lot, and you tax that money, you're stealing from them the chance of diversifying. Okay, let's say it's a family that have many $10,000 stacks of money. Okay, so they had like 30 of those $10,000 stacks of cash. So now the state comes and takes away that from them. Okay, with those $10,000, what you could have done is diversifying. Thanks to the stock market, you could grab those $10,000 and allocate it in ownership in different businesses and publicly traded stocks. So, for example, if the three-generation curse hit your family and you become poor, in the sense that your children or your grandchildren don't want to work anymore, don't have a way of being valuable for their communities, they become lazy or full of addictions, instead of going down, perhaps you could have those $10,000 in different trusts or different accounts or different places where your grandchildren don't spend those stocks, and they're going to be diversified. Perhaps they're not going to want to work, but they're going to be owners of something. Okay, and these will guarantee that your family can go one generation further, and have income and have wealth. Because at the beginning, when you are very wealthy, your riches sometimes come from one business your family owns, and you want to work in it, and you're very good at working in it. But to be very good at working on that, it requires wisdom, education, will to work, many things, passion for what you do, commitment, having a history of being involved in that for years, and that can be lost. You can lose that, and families usually lose that in 3 generations. It's called the 3-generation curse. You can Google it. Okay, so if you have more money to save, you can go ahead and invest in other businesses. In case your own business fails, in case your own family fails, and your own individual, if you are doing business alone, fails, you have ownership of many other businesses. Okay, and perhaps in 30 years or in 3 generations, when your family goes to ruin, those $10,000 in ownership can grow a lot. Okay, and the thing is that if you tax these families, you're stealing from them the chance of diversifying. And meaning that in the future, you're gonna have less wealthy families, less wealthy households, less people capable of consuming and spending, and boosting the economy that way by spending and making other people work in productive and valuable stuff. And this is another consequence. So imagine, and I finished the video with this, imagine if the state, when they tax you, the government, they send you a letter saying sorry for stealing from you. And then also they send you a letter saying that in case you want to use that money to better diversify, and you say to us that you want to diversify and put $10,000 in different stocks, right? Imagine if they said to you that we don't want the sin of stealing from you, and in case you want to do that, we will tax you less. We will give you a tax deduction so we don't steal that from your family, right? Imagine if they do that, it will be like impressive, like what's going on? Like the government became a person with conscience, a person that doesn't want to steal. Whoa, man, incredible, right? But I will finish the video with that, you know, taxes and theft. You know, in which point taxing people is the same that stealing from them. Why we don't have shame. Why we don't regret stealing from other people. Why as a community, as a country, especially America, that's a country that brings so many people from abroad, okay? People that didn't got their education here, that didn't get many things from here. They don't have any debt with this country. Even in that situation, why we're not discussing stealing less? Why instead of discussing how to steal less from a government perspective, especially on the left, they're discussing how we can justify stealing more and more theft instead of less theft and more. I don't know. Okay, so have a great day, and I hope you like the video, and goodbye. Yeah, see you. Remember, this was sponsored by my video. Try it out. This is not about taxes. This is a book about how to pay more in taxes. Yeah, you will learn how to have a bigger tax bill, but a bigger income with this. And yeah, go try it out. It's in Amazon. We already sold some copies online, also in the bookstores near my house. And yeah, I hope you like it. Very good book. A second recommendation, if you like the short selling side, betting against the economy, this book is quite good, despite you could find better. And yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye. Bye-bye.